Welcome to the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev, where we explore and share experiences, stories and lessons 7 days a week from across the games industry, helping you make the best game you can. Stay tuned for today's episode. Good morning, Overload Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dev Talk, talking to game developers from across the world to bring you experiences, stories and lessons 7 days a week. Today I'm joined with Manus Burke, Trevor Burke and Stephen Kelly from Howling Hamster Games to talk about their first game, Subspecies. Gentlemen, talk about yourselves first, please, and how you got into the industry.
Well, I suppose I'll start off. Manus here. I was in IT for a lot of years working as a programmer, and during the downturn I found myself with free time. And much like the lads here, I think we all ended up doing a course in games development a few years back, and that's how we met. And we've that's where we discovered our love for making games and started from there, really. Trevor's the artist.
My background is I was in traditional art, so I did a lot of portraits, that kind of stuff. Then I was in college, I did production design, so like a lot of film stuff. But like that, during the downturn, there wasn't much work for that kind of thing, so I found myself in the game design course, and I could apply the skills I had to 3D modeling, Photoshop work, that kind of thing. So.
And my background would mostly be in web development and that sort of thing, and programming. But I do play a lot of instruments and stuff, and I dabbled with audio software, so I kind of ended up doing that here as well. So I'm the resident audio designer.
Cool, so it's a nice little small team of a whole variety of different skills.
Yeah, we've pretty much everything covered.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So tell us about your studio then, the Howling Hamsters, and is it just three of you, and what's the structure?
Okay, the company structure is there's three of us. It's a very, very small studio. In fact, studio we'd have to work really hard to get to the studio label at this stage. We were
working from home when we started. When we were working on the first game, we did it all from our respective houses, and it's only recently, in the last a year now, we've been working on Subspecies. And a year ago we decided we were going to do it properly, so we actually rented the dining room of my nephew's house and piled all our machines in there. So our office is the back room of my nephew's house.
Yeah.
And that's where we go 10 to 6, or 10 to 6, that's about fair. 10 to 6 every day, 5 to 6 days a week for the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's not Google, but it's close. Yeah.
You rented a dining room?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's different. Well, okay. No, normally you rent rooms.
Office we have places to sleep. That was no problem. We weren't on the street. We just needed somewhere to work. And office spaces are just beyond our budget, because currently none of us are in gainful employment. We are now self-employed in the games industry and struggling. So
I understand.
We have to keep the costs down.
Way down. Way down.
But the quality way up, otherwise there's problems elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's why we're taking our time. The one thing we have on our side, and plenty of it to invest in the company, is time. So that's why we're not rushing Subspecies and trying to make sure it's going to be right.
That is brilliant to hear, because if you won't play the game you're working on, with quality and time, then it's not worth buying. You won't buy it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So speaking of which, tell us about Subspecies and what you wanted the player to experience.
Well, Subspecies is it's kind of at its heart, it's kind of an old-fashioned shooter. It's akin to those older games you'd see back in the Amiga quite a while back. It was that old kind of dog-fighting mechanic. If you've ever played, there's a game came out a couple of years back called Luftrausers. That's the most contemporary version of that style of game, that kind of tank control dog fighting type thing. So we wanted to take that really kind of simple but really fun mechanic and apply that to a more deeper game. Excuse the pun. But so this game is set underwater, and you basically have tank controls. You pilot your little sub. You basically shoot all the monsters under the sea. You explore the ocean. You salvage wrecks, all this kind of. And as you're doing this, the story unfolds as to what has happened, why all these wrecks are there. You learn more about the world around you, and that's pretty much what we're hoping to get across to the player.
Cool concept. Underwater as well. I find that when the game is set underwater and also in space, you can get away with more unrealistic physics.
Yeah.
As in, like, up and down directly, and more dampening as regards to the speed on the vehicles. You can get all sorts of cool, crazy things.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of room for maneuver and interpretation of stuff, and it's a.
Yeah, it's fun because we were able to get it working. Like, we also had asteroids in our mind for the combat kind of thing, because you spin 360 around your little attack sub for the monsters coming at you from every angle. That kind of an environment, and underwater is the perfect place to achieve that. I mean, I suppose we could have done it in outer space too, but.
Gentlemen, how is it you went about promoting the game, and what methods worked and what didn't work so well?
Well, we started in early development. In the first few months, we just Facebook and Twitter. We'd release kind of artwork as Trevor was finished with it, little pictures, teasers, concept art, that kind of thing, yeah. And then we were aiming towards a single level kind of alpha demo to show the world, build it up, and the plan was that we'd have that ready, and then we'd go on Steam Greenlight. So with the release of the demo, hand in hand with Steam Greenlight. So it took us about 9 months to get to that stage.
Yeah, about that.
Last March, I think it was, and we finished the demo, put it up on Game Jolt, and then we started emailing every YouTuber in the universe.
Right.
We got a very good list. I think it was the Pixel Mine.
Was it Pixel Dynamo? No.
I can't remember.
Pixel Prospect.
Pixel Prospector. That's it.
Yeah.
Have a very useful list of YouTubers on it. But now it's slightly out of date. You'd have to go, as you go through it, you find there's a lot of new guys popping up, and guys disappeared every day. But so we essentially emailed all of those, and from that we got about, I'd say, 15, 20 playthrough videos done of the
demo, yeah.
Of the demo,
yeah.
And it took about 6 weeks. Was it 8 weeks?
Less than that. It was
to get greenlit.
It was about 56 days, I think.
Yeah, all right, 56 days we were greenlit.
Yeah. Which we were amazed at. We thought it would take, judging by the figures we saw, it would take the best part of a year to get greenlit, but just one day out of the blue we got a letter saying you're greenlit. So
I mean, we got some good press articles as well and some online sites,
Yeah.
The Gaming Ground and Pixel Dynamo and those who actually picked up. I mean, I don't even know if I contacted them directly. A couple of them had written articles before we released the Gaming Ground wrote an article on the game before the demo was released. He found a 1-minute video we did of just a sub driving around underwater, and looked at the website where the game's concept and story was, and they wrote an article from that saying how much he was looking forward to seeing an underwater shooter. So I mean, things like that popped up and just surprised us. But I suppose it's all down to basically just putting everything out there, making sure you have a website and all the usuals.
Oh, definitely.
So people can happen by it as well. I mean, Twitter is probably the biggest place.
Which that surprises kind of the Twitter was.
Yeah.
Twitter and Reddit. We were surprised how effective they would be, more so than Facebook in some cases.
Yeah. Twitter seems to be the most active spot really.
And there's a thing too, like when you tweet, you can't just send it up anytime. Like there's a specific window when you have to tweet at the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So
we did a lot of reading on marketing. I'm not sure if it's going to do what it's going to do in the end, but it's hard work basically. You have to just put in hours and hours. I mean, we spent 3 days sending the emails when we were the three of us just sat there and did nothing but send emails.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I understand that marketing is big, and you got to get it right. This daily dev talk thing, I spent today and yesterday more or less interviewing like a good week's worth, and unfortunately last week I was on holiday, so I had a good time buffer, but that was then lost, and I need to create that again, that good time buffer, in order to then concentrate on loads of other things while these are done automatically and published and scheduled.
Yeah.
So marketing, just being persistent really in understanding your tools in the audience. Be where they are and tweet when they're awake.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much.
that's.
Exactly. Yeah.
It sounds simple, but
Yeah. In practice.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just surprising how many people don't understand that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But hey,
That's the one thing we learned from the first game we did. We marketing was our biggest problem. I mean, we finished with a nice little app game. It was called Goldbeard, and we failed to market it. We just, we were sitting in our rooms coding away, drawing pictures, sound, everything, and no one gave a second thought to marketing. And by the time we had a finished game, and no one knew about it. And sure, it's too late then. We only just. Yeah. It was a great lesson to learn.
It was an afterthought. We just thought, right, we'll finish the game, now we'll market it, which was a massive mistake. You have to be doing it day one, So.
No, yeah, you do it before the game is finished.
Yeah. Especially when you have a marketing budget like ours, which is exactly zero.
Yeah.
Oh, like most of the people. Well, you can get some really cool stuff done on zero. You just gotta know how to get your game contagious is all.
Well, we've started meeting game players recently, actual players, which is great fun. We went to a small games con, cosplay thing, a BroCon it was called, in Limerick during in June.
Yeah.
Or July, sorry. The start of July. And it was great because they let us set up a desk, a couple of monitors, and for 2 full days we were in their trading hall. And everyone was going around buying their stuff and in their cosplay. We're stopping by to play the demo we had, the latest demo we have of the game Trench. And the feedback is just invaluable. And from actual people who could become players, potential customers, not commentators on things or not other developers or anything like that, but actually it's a completely different experience, and it's so much more rewarding and valuable when you potential customers are trying your demo and saying they like it. So it was such a good experience. We've already scheduled another one at I think a Dublin convention called Chaos Con in November, and we'll be doing a panel and everything on games development while we're there. As part of the weekend, So, I mean, it's just such good fun. Those kind of things,
and it's an important thing to do too, to kind of have someone outside of your circle who's not going to tell you what you want to hear to play the game. I mean, YouTubers or that. I mean, because sometimes they tell you things you don't want to hear, and you have to listen to them because you're not going to do it yourself. You're convinced you've made the best thing in the world, and you go out and some people like it, some people hate it, and then you have some people who like it but have constructive, criticisms about it, and sometimes you may not want to hear about that stuff, but it's vital that you do.
Yeah, we've made changes to the control system on the sub. We've changes to the way it picks up salvage, all these things, but they didn't come from us sitting in the room trying it out again. I mean, nearly every Monday night here in Galway, there's the Galway Gaming Tribe, they're called, have a thing in town where it's a board game Street Fighter competitions. They rent the upstairs of a pub, and it's just a gaming night,
Yeah.
And we went along to it a few months ago, and they were more than welcoming to us. They give us a table whenever we come. We set up a monitor, and it was going to that every Monday night that we were getting incredible feedback, and that's what prompted us to change the movement controls. That's what we brought in a version. We have another level in the game now, which is a battle mode, which is for where there's 2 subs in an arena, and you're just trying to kill each other. It's a 2-player mode, a little dogfight, and
that just came out of the night.
That just came out of being down there. People, and it's a great way for them to pick up and enjoy the game and stuff. And
yeah, sometimes when you play a campaign, it takes a long time to kind of figure out controls and get story. But the thing we did with just the 2-player, there's the guys that pick up the joypads, and within 5 minutes they get it and they're playing, and they can experience a large chunk of the game without having to, go through the story of the campaign, all this kind of stuff.
And we got great feedback down there because there was League of Legends players down there, and they were playing. They obviously tried our game. They were fighting each other, and they were giving us feedback on the mini map and how we need they wish there was a directional thing on where you tell where your sub is, what direct, and a few little pointers here, really constructive, really nice things from guys who were used to playing that kind of an environment, like a multiplayer killing each other thing,
It's like a really casual, informal sort of testing session.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the most casual way to get your game tested. Get out there and find the games nice, find the convention, and go along and stick your game up, and people will tell you what to think.
Yeah, the worst they can do is be honest.
Yeah.
When you say games night, is that like at a local internet cafe that has a game event, or what exactly?
It's an empty room in a pub upstairs that they use for functions.
Right.
And the guy who runs it, Joe Neary, he brings along 5 or 6 TVs that is it, what do they run, the PlayStations? Is it they run the
PlayStation,
Xbox.
Xboxes, and they run the Street Fighter off that. A couple of other people who attend bring along like a Nintendo thing for Pokemon
Smash
battles,
Brothers,
people bring and they've got a selection of 40 board games that are there, and there's a lot of board game players that are there, and people just turn up on the night. The League of Legends guys bring their PCs and sit down. They had the Oculus Rift there the last 4 or 5 nights on the big screen. Everyone in there got to try the Oculus Rift, but it's just whatever's on the night. Sometimes they'll run a Street Fighter competition, something like that. But there's communities like that all over. Like, I mean, if there's one in a city as small as Galway, they're everywhere. So if you're a developer and you're out there and you're looking at really fine players to test your game, go and check online for a local games night. They're there, they're always out there, and go and bring your game along. Because the thing is, we were kind of, you're nervous about approaching people like that.
Yeah.
And you wanted to know, are we, but they're always welcoming. We've never found anyone. The guys at BroCon were so welcoming. The guys at ChaosCon got back to us immediately and said, we'd love to have you, love to do a panel.
Yeah, well,
people love new games. They love to be a part of the development of a new game, especially if they like the look of it. They just go, oh yeah, we can say, that I helped test this, or I remember the lads before we were famous and things like
that. Most people's the thing of the game is that they just, they just see it when it's ready to buy. That's it. That's the only connection they have with it, really. They might see like a preview on YouTube, a review here and there, but to see actually something that's half built, not quite ready, it's kind of you get a lot of interest in that. People want to see like the other end, then how it works and how it's put together, and any kind of input they can put in.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing these events, these interviews, because there's always the hardcore players. Sometimes I want to know what happens behind the scenes on some of their favourite games, and if their developers who made their favourite games have an interview, then it's the more the merrier, the happier they are. Just to know what happened, games just don't sprout out the ground.
You can tell you that for nothing.
I wish they would.
So I'm curious then. What was the biggest thing you learned while working on the game? Maybe marketing, as simple as that.
It's probably what we learned the most about that we didn't, or knew. I'd say when we started off, development, we knew nothing about marketing.
Yeah,
we knew we needed to know about marketing, but we knew nothing about it. So I think our biggest learning curve over the last 12 months has been in the marketing area.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get better. I mean, you did the programming, so you're going to get better at the programming specifically, games, C#, that kind of thing. I've learned an awful lot of the 3D stuff just as you go, because the more you do this, the better you get. But the marketing purely, we had absolutely no experience in, and that was the thing that we just went from zeros to kind of,
Well, I don't know where we're at with it yet. We don't know how successful it's been, but we're definitely better than we were at it.
Well, that's great. That's what it's all about, learning. But on the flip side to that, what was the worst thing that happened while working on the game?
Maybe.
Oh, God, hang on. You don't have a long enough interview. No, I think personally the biggest challenge and decision we faced was the name of the game.
All right.
Because it's 12 months ago we moved into the dining room and started working on the PC version of the game we have, the game we're going to be releasing. And for the last 11 and a half months, it's been called Trench. We've just put up, actually just before the interview there, we put out Facebook announcements and Twitter announcements about the new website subspecies.com. So having to deal with that was having to decide to do it first and then to deal with it. There was issues with the name Trench. It has a litigious past, it turns out.
Trench reminded me of the Second World War, the First World War. That is what came to mind straight away. And I think on initial glance, just seeing the name, what came to mind was a sort of a World War I game, whether strategy or simulator of the sorts. Is that also why you wanted to get away from that and go towards
Well,
subspecies?
I'm
But
not. Yeah, sorry.
So the World War One game is basically where the whole problem arose because we heard about was it Double Fine had a game that they want called Trench. They wanted to release it, and they found out that there was a guy who basically owned the European rights and American rights to the name Trench associated with the game. So if you the word Trench in game and the same thing, this guy owned the right to it. So they had to change the name to, was it Iron something?
I think it was Ironclad. It became
Ironclad,
that,
yeah, became that, yeah. So when they did that, so when we found out basically that they wouldn't cooperate, this guy wouldn't cooperate with Double Fine, we didn't really have much of a chance. So we decided to change it, but that too, and like other people, I mean, like you said, there's like that connotations with the World War One thing, and there's a lot of people who don't like know that there's like trenches
underwater. Yeah,
that was like news to a lot of people.
That came as there was some strange comments, all right, when we released the demo about people going trench and underwater. I don't understand it. I'm like, okay.
Oh right.
So we decided. Some people suggested we, going to call it trench subspecies or so, kind of. But we decided if we're going to move away from the name, just to break completely, because we don't want any trouble with it down the line, and it's a big decision because we've had I don't know 8 or 9 good articles written since the release of the demo, and they're all about the game Trench. It's already got an identity. I mean,
SEO.
So we're still obviously worried, but we've decided to do it anyway. That people won't immediately associate that game Trench that I was following, or that I and they'll see subspecies and won't.
Yeah, but we're still far enough away from the release that we're hopefully it's not going to do too much damage, because we're of the opinion that the majority of people who are going to buy the game haven't even heard of it yet. So that's what
we're hoping.
We're hoping,
yeah. And we know we've got a substantial amount of time before we're ready to release the game. I mean, I suppose somewhere between 9 to 12 months is the estimate. March to July, something like that, is where we're aiming to finish it.
That's what we're aiming for, but there isn't a deadline we haven't missed yet.
Oh, that's something we learned too. Deadlines are very important to focus the mind, but don't get too worried about them, because we haven't come within a donkey's roar of hitting a deadline yet. In fact, we're supposed to have our 3-level demo up online about 3 weeks ago. We're in the process of shattering that deadline.
The deadline record has just been.
There isn't a deadline we haven't killed.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm also interested whether there's any game development related books, lectures, or learning resources that you can all recommend.
Resources.
Yeah.
Well, how else did you learn about marketing?
How else did we learn about marketing? There are actually, it all started the site you mentioned that I keep forgetting, Pixel Prospector was where I started, and it has an incredible amount of links to extremely good either articles or YouTube videos from people who I mean, that's where you should go. I mean, I don't know, in my experience, if you go on to that and go work your way through the list of articles and watch the videos, all the advice is there, and it has to be right, that they have to be telling you the truth, because they're saying the same things at the core of it all. Start marketing early, make sure everybody knows. That seems to be the number one mantra. The minute you have something to show it to the world. Don't keep it a secret. Don't worry about IP or anything like that. If your game's going to get ripped off, it's going to get ripped off, and it probably will get ripped off. But I mean, that's just the gaming industry. Flattery, or what is the
flattery is the something form of
impersonation is the sincerest form of flattery.
That's it. I got it.
And that's what they're like. I mean, so it's going to happen if you come up with something unique, and and it's really good. You're going to have clones of it and copies of it, and people are going to copy it. So you live with that. You just make the best game you can. You don't let your marketing suffer because you're worried about keeping something secret. Because if you're going to keep it a secret, it's going to stay a secret forever. That's the one thing the marketers say, and that's what all of those videos, every article, just show everybody, shout from the mountaintops.
Yeah. Okay. So, Like an Evernote or a Trello, do you have a useful or productivity-enhancing software, app, or website worth sharing?
Well, we're currently working. The game's being produced on the Unity engine. That's what we're working with, and purely from an art background, if the program I found the most useful is a program you get on the Unity store called Shader Forge. And if you're like me and you don't have a clue about programming at all, but you need to get stuff done, like clever kind of shaders and stuff, the Shader Forge thing it's really really good. It's kind of a node editor, so you just drag in your texture, you drag in your normal map, you're dragging whatever, and you connect them all together, and you can create these really cool effects. Like we use it a lot for the kind of the water and the volumetric light in the game and all that kind of stuff. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to use. It take a month or two just to kind of get your head around it. Once you do, it adds that extra layer of polish to your games. And actually, there was a comment in the Shader Forge when you go to buy it, and it says, "Why isn't this part of the Unity standard package?" And I would totally agree with that. It should be, it should be the first thing you get for anyone who wants a good-looking game on Unity. That would be the one I'd recommend.
Cool.
And I'm not getting any money from Shader Forge, by the way. It's my own opinion. So
that's all right. Well, yeah, I have basic knowledge of programming. Ints, booleans, variables, exposed, so on and so forth. But it's really not for me. And that's the main thing I found with Unity was that there was no equivalent of the material editor that you can find in say UE3 or UE4.
exactly.
And it's a bit of a drawback. It's just a basic diffuse, and it's like, no, I want to go more. It's not the same. Not the same.
That lets you do that. So it's really really handy.
That's cool to know. I never knew about that. But I'm also curious, gentlemen, Manus, Trev, and Stephen, what advice, gentlemen, can you give to aspiring game developers, small indie studios, and people trying to get to where you are today?
The first bit of advice to give to someone is make yourself useful. If you have an idea for the best game in the world, let's say you've come up with the next Portal, okay, right? It's no good just having an idea. You have to bring something to the table. You have to be a good artist or a good programmer or even a good musician, sounder. You need to just bring. You can't just go and say, "I have the best idea in the world and I want you guys to build it for me." Unless you're remarkably charismatic and convince people you can do that. You have to, especially the lower you go, the more generally skilled you have to be. I know, in some of the higher studios, I know there's some studios that have really specific things like gun designers and stuff like that. Where the lower you go, the less of that you need. So you need people who know 3D stuff, 2D stuff, a little bit of programming. You need to have a general appreciation for everything. So the lower the level that you want to go into, the more generalized your skills have to be, and the higher up, the more specialized. So absolutely. You need to bring something to the table other than an idea, because if you 6 people in a room, you'll have 6 good ideas for brilliant games, because everyone thinks their idea is the best thing ever. So
I found the thing I think is the most, that I personally, because I struggle with this a lot, that I find is the most important thing is to be patient.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, and I have absolutely none of it. Both of the lads will attest to this. Oh yeah. I am the minute Trevor has a new piece of artwork, I want it on Facebook and Twitter. He's shown me it, and he then tells, he goes, no, you don't understand, that's just a rough draft. You can't have that, it's not finished. And I'm like, it looks perfectly fine to me. I want to put it, and is the demo ready? That level is good enough. And Trevor's like, no, it's not polished. We're not ready to release it yet. No, but we have to get it out. And I just desperately want things out there. Now I fight. They obviously tell me that I'm wrong, and I know I am. And it was the same thing we experienced with Goldbeard. We got the app ready, the first game ready. It was playable, and was just like, let's get it out there without any thought or without any, plan or marketing. And it wasn't really ready, and you'll make a mess of things and you will regret it, because the minute you release you can't unrelease something. You can't show it. No one's going to ever see your game for the first time a second time, So if you put out that one level demo like we did, and it doesn't look its absolute best, your people are going to always associate their first impression with it, which is, that doesn't look so great, So patience is God, it's so important. And I wish I had some.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. That's big. Patience. Yeah. Big. So, what is next for you all, and what's the best way to contact you?
Well, what's next for us is pretty much what's current for us. It's just like work on the game and get it finished and get it done.
That's it. Basically, we'll be going to. Hopefully, I won't say in the next couple of weeks because that's become a running joke. Soon we'll have the demo back up on Game Jolt, and we'll send out another round of emails to make sure everyone knows that we've got a proper game section. There'll be two or three levels, and it'll be real representative of what the final game will be. So hopefully we'll have that out really soon. Once that's done, then we have to. It's just basically build, more levels, finish the game, and while we're doing that, market. We'll be trying to go around to as many of these conventions as we can. Trying to do as many interviews with great people like you as we can. All that kind of thing. Because without that, no one's ever gonna.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you want to contact us, you can get us at Howling Hamster's corporate headquarters, dining room.
HowlingHamsterGames@gmail.com is the best way to get us, I think.
Yeah, we're on the usual places: Facebook, Twitter, and
Howling Hamster. Yeah. Facebook, Twitter, we're on them all. I'm sure we're the first Howling Hamster that'll pop up. There's not a lot of Howling Hamsters out there, I think, which is why I think one of the reasons we like the name.
Oh, the logo as well stands out.
Oh, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, it was great talking to you all. A lot of stuff to consider and remember, and a lot of information worthwhile knowing when you're a developer, to have something out there and show it when you have something available, show it as soon as you can and be patient. And that Shader Forge is very useful.
Yes.
And that also got to be careful about your name of the game, because it might be owned by someone else in the world, and the IP or the web address could be quite unavailable.
It can come as quite a shock.
Exactly. People can decide they own a word. I didn't know you could do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it was great talking to you all, and I wish you well on future endeavours.
And you.
Thank you. It was great talking to you too. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. So stay tuned, Overload Nation. More Daily Dev Talks to come. Welcome to the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev, where we explore and share experiences, stories and lessons 7 days a week from across the games industry, helping you make the best game you can. Stay tuned for today's episode.